Hello and welcome back to another episode of this Rocket Accordion restoration. Not restoration, project. Trying to make this into a pocket rocket. There's been a bit of a delay in doing the next video for this one because I've just been finishing off this one. I'll show you, but it's taken longer than I thought. This is a kind of full restoration of this Hohner Verdi 1. Here we go. So I've just finished this one. So it's all looking nice, and actually I'll just play it and you can just hear it if you like. But it just took a bit longer. So if anyone's interested in buying an accordion, this one is, I'm going to be selling it through Hobgoblin Music in Bristol, but they do mail order as well. So that's where often I take my accordions once I finish them and they sell them for me. So give you a little blast on this one before I get onto the pocket rocket. So that's this one. So that's just finished. Again, I'm going to be selling it through Hobgoblin if anyone's looking for a kind of a nice vintagey, fully refurbished Hohner Verdi 1, 48 key, 48 bass, 2 voice. That's that one. Put that down for a second. Now on to the pocket rocket. So here we go. So it's going to sound a little bit different because it's quite a lot smaller. Let's have a listen. See where we've got to. So all the reeds have been done, but I haven't done any tuning. And so let's see where we are. I still can't get my hand into the. And I haven't sorted that out yet. So it's a nice sounding little thing. It's getting there. It does need a little bit of tuning, but I haven't done that yet. So I'll come on to that in a bit. But I'm going to do a couple of things today, and I'll show you what they are. First thing I'm going to do, excuse me, is I'm going to do the bellows gasket. Now this is where you can actually increase or improve the compression. So the compression is the how much air you can keep inside the bellows and to go through the reeds without it escaping through any available gap, because the air inside there, it has no mercy. If there's a gap or a hole or a split or anything, it will find its way out. So this is what I'm going to show you on here. So if I just actually put it like that, so if I take off the treble side, the pins are going through the treble side body there, and then they go through the holes in the bellows. There's a hole there, so it goes through there, and then sandwiched between the bellows and the treble side here, we've got something called a bellows gasket. Now the bellows gasket is like a leather or rubber or foam seal that when you push the treble side down onto the bellows, it compresses and gives you a way of minimizing air loss. Now this seal is okay, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to take it off and put a slightly thicker one in, and I think that will improve the compression. So I'm going to do that, and then the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do the base side pallets. So let me just show you that as well. So I just got to take off the base strap so I can get to the mechanism inside. So just take this off. Make sure I keep the screws somewhere so I don't get loose them. Take that base strap off, and I've just got some tape holding it on for the minute, because I knew I was going to take it off. But normally that will be screwed in. So if I just take this off, there we go. And here we are. I'll just show you inside here. So in here, I'll just get a pokey thing to point with. You've got the, so that way, you've got the buttons, and they're just pushing down on a lever, which is spring loaded, and then what's moving is called a pallet, and the pallet has got a layer of, well, it should be a layer of leather and felt underneath it, so when it hits the two holes that you can see there and closes, it should seal. Now these pallets look like they've only got a bit of felt on them, and that's not going to give a very good seal. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to remove the pallets and I'm going to put some new seals on them, some new leather and felt, just to make sure that they're as good as I can get them. So two things to do. So I think I'll start with the, actually I'm going to start with the pallets, get them done first, and then I'll go on to do the bellows gasket. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to change the camera angle so that you can see what I'm doing. The nice thing about working on this little thing is I've got more room on my desk, because it's just so tiny that rather than a massive great big thing where I run out of space, this is tiny. Right, I'm going to change the camera angle so you can see what I'm doing with the pallets, so just give me a tick. Okay, so I've got the back covers will come off, and these pallets are going to come off their arms, so I'm going to twist them off in just a second. Before I do that, I'm going to number them. I always do that just in case there's slight variations between them, and if you get them muddled up, it might just mean that they don't line up quite as well as they did. So I just always number them. So I'm just going to number them with my pencil here, so that when I put them back, they go in the right place. 6, 7, 8. And the other thing I'm going to take off is the air release button. So if this little button here pushes, as you can see it, yeah, there you go, pushes the little pad, which is the air release button, and again I'm going to sort that out as well. So the next thing is to get these pallets off their arms. So I'm just going to put it down like this for a second. And what I might do is raise the camera up a little bit so you get an above view. Give me a sec. Okay, there we are. That's an above view, I think. Getting quite high tech with my views. So what I'm going to do now is push that pallet up. And then as I'm pushing it up, I do need to twist that pallet off. So I think I'm going to get some pliers on this. So maybe if I can do it that way, actually better. So what I'm going to do is, this is actually harder. Wait a minute, I'll have to rethink this a second. I'm going to find out how to get these pallets off. Give me a second. Okay, that's a bit tricky, that, because as I was trying to get the pallets off, everything's so soft, the metal's so soft, as I was trying to get the pallet off, the little arms were bending quite a lot, because they're really quite delicate. So rather than do it that way, I'm going to do it a different way. What I'm going to do, I'm going to take the whole mechanism out, and then once it's out, I can take the pallets off carefully. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to unscrew. There's one screw there, 2, 3, 5 little screws. I'm going to unscrew those and take the mechanism out, so let's do that. There we go. It's good to have a magnetic screwdriver. That's why I just put those somewhere safe. Because it's quite a small mechanism, it's quite easy to take it out. Where am I? There we go. And if you haven't got a magnetic screwdriver, just get a magnet and rub it on a non-magnetic screwdriver until it's magnetized. Okay, so the whole mechanism now is going to hopefully come out without too much of a fight. Putting up a little bit of a fight. There we go. Ooh, come here, bugger. Oh, there, way. There we are. That's all come out. So what I'm going to do now is carefully just make sure these arms aren't too going to get damaged. Oh, it is quite a fragile beast, this one. Right, so what I can do now is I can get these pallets off, and then I can put some new ones on. So what I'm going to do now is very carefully just snap them off, but because I've got the mechanism out, it's a bit easier to get them off, he says. In fact, what I'm going to do, change of plan. I just I'm really at risk of bending this too much. I'm going to leave these on, and I'm going to stick the new covering with them in situ. That's going to be a bit easier, really. Okay, let me just get my leather out, and I'll show you how I'm going to do that. Okay, so I've got my favourite glue, Eileen's Turbo Tacky Glue. Highly recommend that. So let's just put a little bit on here. So this is a bit of a different way of doing it to what I normally do, because it's all in situ. So what I'm going to do is start with the first one, apply some of this tacky glue onto that felt. sure it's all the way over, and then make sure the leather's right around. Then I'm just going to do one at a time. So I'm going to push that down onto there. I'm just going to push that into place and let that dry for a little bit. And what I'm going to do then is, once I've got that one done, I'll cut that one out and I'll just do the other 6, 5, 6, 7. There's 8 altogether. But I'm going to do them one at a time because it's easier to manage. So once I've got them all stuck on, I'll show you how I'm going on with that. Okay, that was a bit more tricky, but okay. So I've now done the nice soft leather on these arms, and what I'm going to do next is pop these back into the base side. What I have done is, I just realised that one's come off, so I'm going to have to glue that back on again. I've taken off the arms because it's going to be a lot easier to put this back in and then hook the arms down through afterwards. So I'm just going to get the base side mechanism and then I'll just screw it in. Just me a sec. Okay, so the base mechanism, I'm going to screw it in. What I'm going to have to do is force it, push it down so the holes line up and put the screws in. So this is a bit of a tricky one because I'm going to have to concentrate on this. So you might not see a great view of this, but I'll just move these up like so. Get that, and I guess get little screws and hope I can get it all back in again. Right, let's get my magnetic screwdriver. I'm going to put the middle one in first. So you might not get a great view, sorry about this, it's just a little bit of one of those. Actually, I'm just going to do this off camera because it's just a bit of a fiddle. Give me a... Okay, I'm winning. That was just a hell of a fiddle, so I'm just going to show you the last few screws going into there. Just so you have to hold that mechanism under tension against the spring to get the first screw in. Once you get the first one in, it's all now gone in nice, but it was just a little bit of a fiddle. Right, so I'll just get this last one in and I'll show you what it looks like. There we go. So now, there we are. It's just I've got a couple of pallets have come off, so I'm just going to stick those back on again. So I'll just show you how I do that. So those two have got to come back on. So what I'm going to do first of all is get the pallets and get a knife, and I'm going to clean out any bits of glue that have just been left in the little grooves on the pallet there. So I'm just going to clean that out a little bit so there's nothing getting in the way, and then I'm going to use some contact adhesive. So one of the things about doing this accordion malarkey is that you've got so many different kinds of glue. So you've got contact adhesive that I use PVA, like this turbo tacky glue. Super glue comes in handy sometimes. What else? Got shoe glue, and then occasionally you might use something like epoxy, but that's really, I don't ever use that really, but maybe very occasionally. But I'm going to use contact adhesive because this will dry with a slightly flexible finish, so it just gives a little bit of give. So I'm just going to put some in that little slot like so. and then I'm going to, you can see, I'm just going to lift up the arm that needs to have its pallet, and then just push it down, making sure it's going to cover the hole that I'm looking for, and do exactly the same thing for the second one. So then all the pallets are in place. I should just clean that one out a bit. Don't want any gunk in there. I'll just put a bit of contact adhesive down in there. Really, not too much. And again, just lift up the arm, pop it into place, making sure that it's actually covering the holes, and that's good. So I'm going to leave those to dry for a second, and that's all the pallets are in, and then once they're all dry, I'm then going to attach the arms back in. That'll be great. Now my little plan for the air button, so the air button there, I'm not gonna try and take that out, I don't think. Oh, unless, hang on a minute. Oh, it has got some tiny screws. I think I'm going to take that out. Right, so I'm going to take out the air button, because it's got some tiny Phillips screws, and I'll show you what that looks like, and then I'll put a new pad on the bottom of it. Here we go. So this little accordion has had a right old going over, but that's good. But it is actually very much like a proper accordion in terms of the mechanics. It's just a little bit cheap, and the metals are a bit soft, so you've just got to be a little bit careful. Right, I'm just going to get some leather, and I'm going to glue a little pad on there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut out the rough shape of the bit needed for the air release, and then I'll trim it once it's all glued on. So I'm just going to cut it out just a bit bigger than I need, glue it on, and then I'll trim it nicely back once that's done. Right, so to get some glue, get my glue a second. Here he is. Oopsie. Just put a bit of highly tacky goodness onto, whoa, shite, onto there. There you go. So that's, oh my god. Right, there we go, that's better. Put a bit of glue on that mechanism, on the pad. All fingers and thumbs now. There we go. Stick that on like that. Just going to just push that down a little, let that dry, and then I'll trim it nicely, and so that then it's just the right size. So I'm going to leave that to dry, leave those pallets to dry before I do anything else. So I'll just come back in a second when that's all cooked. Give me a tip. Okie dokie. So now that I've got the pallets nice and glued, actually I haven't trimmed, I'll trim that one in a minute. I've not trimmed that one. So now I've just got to put the arms back in. Now what I'm going to have to do is bend the hook straight, because once I've popped it in, I need to get the arm through a little hole on the spring mechanism there, and that won't go through with the hook, obviously, because you've got to go straight down. And so what I'm going to have to do is straighten out the hook and then poke the key through. So I'll just get me pliers and just going to carefully straighten that up so that I can poke it through the hole, and then once it's poked through the hole, then I can bend it back again. Okay, so that's straight. So I've got my C, which I know is a C because it's got a little dimple in the top of the key. So I know which hole it's going through on here, because when I'm playing it, I know that it's that one there. So that's my C, and so I'm going to poke it through the C hole. Wait, come here. Where have you gone? Ah, because I've bent it straight. There we are. And I know which pallet I need to attach it to, because it's that one. So then I can just poke it through, engage the pin, and then once that's in place, I can just bend that back so it doesn't come out. There we are, just bend it a bit more, I think. There we are, that's not going to go anywhere. That's my first one in. Now the key itself is going at a bit of an angle, so what I can do here, just do some judicious bending, and then that's all nice. So that's the first one. So now I need to find the next one and carry on through. So I'm just going to find the next arm, and because they're all different, I was a bit silly really, I got them all modelled up, but there we are. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to have to work out which one goes where. So give me a second while I work out what the next one, and I'll put that in place. Give me a second to show you that. Okay, so I found the next one, which is going to be the C chord. So again, just going to straighten out the thingy-majiggy, poke it through, yeah, come here. Yeah, I need to just get that a bit straighter. There we go, let's try that. There we go. So that seems a bit long, so maybe I need to try another one. Wait a minute, let me just find another one. Give me a sec. Found the right one. Moral of the story here is don't mess up your order of your rods, because it just takes longer to work out which one goes where. Anyway, I think I got it. So let's put that through. There we go. Nicely in, so I'm just going to bend that a little bit just to get that so it doesn't come out. There we are. Bit of bending just to get it straight. There we are, I've got two in now. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go and finish that little job, and I'll show you when I've got it all finished. There we go. That's all in, all connected up. Hopefully I've got them in the right order, but again, just a warning, try to remember where the arms go and save yourself a little bit of a headache like what I just had. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is trim the air button. So just quite simple, sharp knife, I'm just going to trim it as close to the edge as I can. There we go. So I'm just going to screw that one back in, and then that little bit is done. So let me just put that in. There we go. Actually, this is another one of those fiddly ones where I'm going to have to push down on the spring to flatten it, then put the screws inside. I think I'll do this off camera because it's difficult to film it and do it at the same time, so I'll just pop that in. Okay, so that's all in. Sometimes when you get really fiddly jobs and you're filming yourself, you just make a real pig's ear of it because you're aware that you're being filmed. So anyway, that's in. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to put the base panel back on and screw that down, and then I'm just going to test out the pallets. So I'm just going to get this all lined up, screw the screws in, and I'll show you when I've got it all back together. Righty. So I've just put it all back together. So the pallets have been refaced, and then I've just reattached the rods and got it all back together, so everything's working. Oh, I can't get me. I need to get this bass strap fixed. So I got all the rods in the right order, and so those pads will now have more seal on the pallets. Will have more seal on them, so that's good. Now the next thing I'm going to do is have a look at the bellows gasket and also the holes where the pins go. So I'm going to show you what I'm going to do for the next bit on this little project. So I'm going to take the pins out. Where's my little pin thing? Now these pins, they go in quite easy, and so what happens is that they push through the treble side body, and then they go into holes in the bellows. Now what can happen is that those holes can just get a bit enlarged, and on a wooden framed bellows, when the holes get a little bit big, what you can do is just fill the, what I'm going to just get like a cocktail stick and some glue and just fill the hole in with a cocktail stick and trim it off, and then make a new hole. But this is different because it's plastic, so I can't do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some electrical tape on the inside of these holes, and I'm just going to fill the hole with a bit of super glue, and then just let that dry, and then take the tape off, and then sand it smooth. And what that will do is that will fill up the hole, and I'll still be able to get the pin through, but that pin will be a lot tighter fit. So that's the first thing I'm going to do, and then once I've got that done, I'm going to change the bellows gasket. So just get some tape. So I'm going to put this tape on the inside of that plastic bellows frame. So that the super glue doesn't come out. Yeah. And then I'm just going to hold it, put it that way, get my super glue. Where is it? It's up here somewhere. There we go. That'll do. And I'm just going to now put some of this into the hole. leave it for a while just for that to dry, and do the same thing for the other side. So I'll come back when I've done all that bit. Okie dokie, so I've done the glue, and I'm just going to sand that in a bit, sand the outer frame to sand it back flat flush. While that's fully hardening, I'm going to take off this bellows gasket. So this is a little rubber gasket. So I'm just going to get my knife underneath here. I'm just going to get this off. So just going to carefully peel all this off. So I'm going to just go around. Once I've peeled it off, actually it's not coming off that. Sometimes it comes off a lot easier than this. Once I've got this off, I'll just go around with some sandpaper and get that really nice and flat, and also get rid of any extra little bits of rubber and things. And then I'll show you how I fit the new bellows gasket. So I'm just going to clear the old one. Right, okay, here we go. So this is now ready for the new bellows gasket. So I've taken the old one off, just sanded it and brushed off all the dust. So that's not good. I'm going to use some 5mm wide bellows gasket. I think it's 2mm thick, and this is self-adhesive, so basically you've got a bit of paper that you can peel off, and then I'll show you how I do it. Right, so I'm going to peel off the first bit of paper, and I'm going to start halfway along. And I'm just going to stick the bellows gasket butting up against the side, and then all I've got to do then is just peel off a little bit more. And just work my way around. And that's it. Just going to keeping a little bit of tension on the tape. All the way around, nice and easy. And then I'm going to cut it just a little bit longer than the length I need, so I'm just going to offer that up. I need just to do that, and then as I get around to the beginning again, I'm just going to cut it so it's a perfect but just a tiny bit more than that. There we are. So that's my bellows gasket now fitted. So the next thing is just to put everything back together. So we just do a little tidy up, and then I'll show you how I put everything back together. Okay, final little bit. So I'm going to just pop the base side back on. Just clear out any little bits just inside here. There we are. And then because the bellows gasket is a bit thicker than the old one, what I'm going to have to do is just push down a little bit harder, just to squeeze down onto the bellows gasket to get the pin in. But that means it's going to be nice nice and secure, nice and tight. And again, same thing for this one. Squeeze down, get that in, and again, but that's a good sign because it means it's going to be nice and secure. There we are. So those are now in. So this is gradually taking shape and becoming a better little player. So okay, so just everything back together. I'll just give it a little tune. Still things to improve, but going okay. And there we go. So getting there, and still things to do, but thanks for coming along and watching, and see you on the next little video.